What's the haps, pizza fam? I wanted to bake with you guys today a little pizza margherita baked up in the Ooni Karu 16 Santa Barbara baker style. I'm going to show you how I make my classic pizza margherita, and that starts with the preheat. I got this thing cranked today, super hot. I was just checking the deck. It's way too hot to cook a pizza in right now. Let's check it again. Over 900, 947. That's super hot. That's like as pretty much as hot as I see it. Reading almost 800 out here on the thermometer in front. I tell you guys, you know, don't always rely on that one. We'll see that drop a lot by the time we bake the pizza, but we're still gonna shoot for that stone being about 750 when we load it. So what we're gonna do right now before we start building our pizza is turn the oven down. I like to turn it down to where the flame is just rolling over the top of the deck. And really though, you can tailor that a little bit. Today, it was running a little hot, 944, that's really hot. So I'm gonna crank it back just slightly to let it temper out a little bit before we load. I just popped my dough out of its container into a mix of some flour and semolina. Today, we're gonna go with a hand stretch for the marg. If you've been following me, I've been playing around with some different stretch styles, but today we're going with the pretty much OG for me, which I love, a hand stretch. When I was working at a pizza shop, we did everything by hand and the pizzas come out really nice. I'm starting here by just kind of distributing the air, being careful not to touch the center of the pizza too much. You look at that big bubble there. Maybe we can get that air back in there a little bit so we don't have a giant soft spot there. I'm gonna start just opening up the dough ball here a little bit. Open up here, I'm just using my hands here, just pushing it open into a round ball, or excuse me, a circle here as much as we can. Today we're gonna shoot for a crust, a little bit puffy. It's like, I mean, what's my marg style here? We're definitely not going for a classic Neapolitan style, more of like the American kind of wood-fired hybrid bake, whatever you wanna call it. Something that's pretty thin, but a nice little crust here. As you can see, there's a little bit, my dough recipe, I like to mix in a little T85. That's what I have in there. Just basically kind of like a light whole wheat. All right, picking it up now to open it up into my hands here. I'm just gonna stretch it a little bit more here on the marble and then move it to a wooden peel. I think this looks really good for now for what we're going. It's, you know, a little artisan style pizza, whatever you want to call it. Definitely not New York and definitely not Neapolitan. You know what I'm going to do though? Make sure it doesn't stick. I know you guys, that's one of the most common problems people run into is, hey, my pizza's sticking to the peel before I can load it. Well, one way to prevent that is make sure it's floured properly on the bottom of the pot. You can just hit it pretty generously here. You don't want to dump a ton of flour into the oven ever, but we can kind of shake this off here, get it onto there. We can just dump it back onto the marble here. We'll clean that up before we build. That looks really nice. It'll just a little bit more flour onto the bottom there. Shake it off. We can clear this. Move our wooden peel over. Get this onto our wooden peel. Our Ooni Karu 16 is tempering over there. I'll give this one more little stretch before we top it. I'm gonna get everything all set up. We'll top this pizza and build our pizza margherita. Have our dough stretched for our pizza margherita. Our Ooni Karu 16 is tempering just like we like it. We're gonna start with the world's best pizza sauce here. Really, it's just the best tomatoes you can find whirled up, just with a little bit of salt. That's all you need here. I have what I already pre-portioned up. It's 2 ladle scoops here. This is a 3-ounce ladle, probably a little bit more than we need, but I like a good generous amount of sauce on there. And the reason for that is people I've been noticing have some trouble with bubbles popping up in the middle of their pizza or all around, and plenty of sauce on there would definitely help with that. I had a tip from a subscriber recently saying, why don't you build your pizzas with the sauce on the outside moving into the center? And I've been trying that lately and I really like it. The center always is thinner typically, and so it'll start soaking in and you can get just kind of a soggy pie, and I think it makes for a little bit crispier bake, maybe something worth trying, especially at home where you have more time to play around with this. I think that looks good. We're not using all 6 ounces of sauce here. I mean, I would say that's maybe more like 4 to 5. Looks good, maybe even a little bit on the saucy side. Next, I was gonna say we're keeping it OG mark, but I also got this glorious bush of oregano that I wanted to hit. Gotta throw it on there. Not really a typical thing in a marg, but really awesome on pizza. So we're gonna hit it today. I already shook some off on here, so we'll use some of the shake. But it's the bomb shake. We're not complaining. Look at that. It looks bomb. All right. And I know there's some debate on this. Does the basil go in the bake? Does it go on after? Should it go in the sauce? I personally like putting it on during the bake or before the bake. That is because I feel like it gets really fragrant in the oven, perfuming along with the tomatoes. And really that is the OG style that they do in Italy. But as you know, throughout time, things change. So have at it how you will. Post-baked basil, you can never go wrong with. Fresh mozz, working with today. I weighed it out. It's about 3.5 ounces we're using today. Always look for a fresh mozzarella that's not super wet. Like this one was packed cryovac, or if you can get it where somebody's making it fresh that day, that's even better. But don't look for one that's super watery. You're gonna run into some issues. And I just like to hand portion this as we go, starting from the outside. And nice little, not really, let's see what size, big, not as big as a ping pong ball, but also not super small. That way it can keep some integrity in the oven as it bakes. Like it doesn't get all super brown and things like that, which I know is not classic with a marg. Look at that. That looks really good. That's all we're gonna need. Got the Ooni Karu 16 tempering over here. I can see it says 574 out front. We'll take the deck temp again. We're looking for 750. Classic with a little bit of drizzle of olive oil on there. Get the camera turned around. I'll show you how we bake it. Got the Pizza Margherita baked up. Before we load our Pizza Margherita, I'm gonna do one last check of the deck. As you can see out here, this thermometer has cooled down quite a bit. It's reading 557, but I know the deck is still really hot in there. We're reading 749 right there, kind of at the back middle. Looking really good to me to load it. Let's see the flame there. We're gonna turn it up just slightly so it's nice and rolling across the top before we load it. See there, a little bit more. We have our flame rolling across the deck of the Ooni Karu 16. That means it's time to load. Deck reading 750. We have our Pizza Margherita here looking beautiful. Let's get it off the peel and into the oven. This one, the deck is running pretty hot today. 750, but the preheat was nice and long, so I feel like the oven's really running pretty well. I think we'll end up with a quicker bake. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes. We'll see. Oh, bummer. A giant bubble popping up there in the center. Really shouldn't have had much an issue with that because of the sauce, but we'll get through it. We'll see what we can do here. One trick you can kind of do, heat up your peel here, free that up, get some air underneath here. Definitely some potential to rip it. We should have put, maybe that was a little blank spot there. Could have used some more cheese. Let's see, we can go underneath here, free it up a little bit, being really careful there. We don't want to burn it, or excuse me, burn or rip. As it pops up, it's getting closer to flame. It could burn, but also that's a real thin spot in the dough. Let's see what we're going on here. What a mess. Let's see if we can get it done. I'm definitely sketching that this could rip. All right. Seeing some signs though that we could possibly turn this pizza. We can see if we can get it done, even with that bubble. Let's go under here. Wish me luck. Always kind of sticky, gentle on that little area right there with the bubble. Wow, looking pretty good. You can tell how hot that oven deck was by some of that leoparding you're seeing there. And the cheese is looking really nice. We're not seeing, it's, as I say, keeping the integrity of the cheese. That means not fully splotching out into that melted, like more of a New York style look. Like we're looking for something kind of in between a Neapolitan and a New York style, for lack of a better term. All right, I'm gonna keep an eye on this thing. I'm sketching with that bubble. Let's see here, maybe for another turn. Bottom is looking really nice. Wow. This is actually going to end up probably being a pretty decent pizza here. I think we're maybe even on the home stretch. Even with all that sauce, I can't believe that bubble popped up like that. Just the way it goes, maybe a little cheese there would have done it. I think now I'm going to turn it down completely. We'll let this thing finish up and just kind of brown up the crust here. Santa Barbara Baker style bake. We don't like the flop around here. We want a slice you can hold up. We bake it longer than a Neapolitan pizza. Nobody needs a pizza in 60 seconds as far as I'm concerned, especially at your house. Let's get this, let's making sure we're not burning here. You know, kind of a bummer there on that bubble, but I think we're gonna be okay. I was seeing, it looks like the crust is a little bit light back there. So in that case, I will just turn it up just slightly here to finish it off. But we're definitely, I think, almost about done. But I see a little bit of raw-ish dough back there. We see the bottom looking really good. We don't want to get too dark. Spin it around completely here. Let it finish up. I think it has maybe one more turn here. We don't want to get that cheese. You can see it's starting to brown on the top. Some people like that. Some people don't. We're going for a little hybrid style, so we're okay, but we want to keep an eye. We don't want to get that totally brown. Oven temp out here is reading 501. You know, that's what I'm saying. What that means to you is the oven hot or not is really all it means to me. I wouldn't pay too much attention to the exact number on there. Look at that. That looks really good. The bottom is looking bomb, even the point that it might be starting to be too dark for some. But I don't know if you guys can see back there, but it looks like that part in the back is just a little bit light. So we'll turn it to the oven, let it finish up. But definitely almost done here. Looking really nice. I like all that browning, the mix of colors there. All things I really like to see. I have my trusty rack here. We're gonna get it out onto the rack to let it hang out. Take it for one more spin. Wow, look at it. Is it firming up? If you can see, as I pick it up, you can already tell that the flop has been hopefully eliminated. Wow, looking a little dark there. Almost done. I think it has maybe 20 seconds here, if that. All right, I think our pizza margherita here is finished. We bake it a little bit longer to make sure it's not floppy, but we want to keep kind of that same vibe of a OG pizza marg. But look at this thing coming out really nice. Have some leoparding on there. Hopefully baked all the way through. The cheese looking amazing. We'll get it onto the rack. Let it hang out. We're totally tripping there with that bubble. So we're stoked we got it out. Let it hang out here. The marg on the Santa Barbara bake. Wanted to show you guys this thing before we slice it up. You check out the bottom here. There you can see that's where that big hole popped up. But overall, look at that bake looking really nice. That's what I'm telling you guys. You have to preheat this oven really well to get a bake like this. I think it was maybe even a little hot for my style today. So maybe we can't call it the legit Santa Barbara baker style, but I like the look to this. I know this thing is probably going to absolutely annihilate my mouth, even though I've let it hang out for a second. We'll get it down onto our little tray here to slice it up, see if we have a flop or not. I don't know. What do you think? Should we hit it with a little shake of the oregano bush before? Not OG marg, but I'm going to do it. I just like the vibe of shaking from one of these things. Total novelty. Probably too much, and I got even stems going on there. Super rookie move. Going in for the slice, the moment of truth here. I think that I might even let this thing hang out a little bit longer because I think it's really hot. But we'll see here. The things I do for testing pizza around here, making sure that's what, you know, sometimes a flop, if you let your pizza hang out a little bit longer on the rack or even on the tray, the flop will be reduced. So if you're having soggy pizza problems, check that out. Let's get it. Let's take a look before we get into it. Pretty classic vibes here. Almost a Neapolitan vibe coming off it. Definitely not any sort of New York or something, but whatever. We're just making backyard pizza here. Look at this thing. This is just the one I was going for. Is it floppy? A little bit of sag on the tip there with that fresh mozz. What are you gonna do? But I like it. You gotta give the fold, the little taco there. Let's get in it. Pizza Margherita just never gets old. I can't believe how bright those tomatoes always come through. I think that's part of the thing, going big, a little bigger with that sauce there. I think maybe a little too big on the sauce. Ended up with the floppy tip. Also, I don't know if you guys can see there. There's one I picked up that was part of that bubble. Also a thing that's going to end up with a little more floppiness. So a little bit of sag on the tip, but overall, this looks like a bomb pizza to me. Look at the bake on that. Really nice to me. Brown with some leoparding. Tastes just amazing to me. Check out this one. A little bit darker there. This one here, something for everybody. The classic flavors with a little bit of shake of oregano at the end. Learn the bake. Learn my pizzas. It's up on SantaBarbaraBaker.com. I love you all. One love.